You know what our intro song should be? That. What's that song called? Tonight the music seems so loud.
Oh, I'm not sure, but I know your tune. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Bearded Chat. Tonight we have this guy is just his rap sheet is fucking ridiculous.
Weapon. Certified weapon.
Yeah. So he's one of Australia's youngest and most successful social entrepreneurs. He's been a keynote speaker presenting to 3 different TED Talks, and also a keynote speaker for the World Science Festival, along with the Nobel laureate.
Yeah, Nobel Prize winner.
Prize winner, Brian Schmidt.
Schmitty.
What did he win?
Good guy.
Yeah?
Is he?
What did he do?
Physics, I think.
Physics? Yeah.
I could be wrong.
He did something and it was really impressive.
Really impressive. Good guy. Yeah,
he is also, our guest, is also the CEO of the ASE Group, which is actually partnered. This is a ridiculous organisation, and we'll get him to elaborate on this later. But it's partnered with the government, private sector, and educational institutions to deliver authentic entrepreneurial education to over 100,000 young people so far. Wow. He was named as I'm getting goosebumps reading this, bro. He was named as the Australian Young Innovator of the Year in 2014 and awarded, it's pretty much that award is given to Australia's most exciting innovator in emerging talent. In 2017, he was awarded Young Australian of the Year for Queensland. He's a young and...
It was between Taj and Bindi Irwin.
Was it really?
It wasn't. No, I wish.
And he was actually the youngest recipient of that award since its formation in 1979.
Jesus.
He has.
How old were you then?
I actually came back from schoolies to pick up that award.
No
it was like day 2 of schoolies, or day 3.
Wait. We got to finish this intro.
Sorry.
This is how ridiculous this guy is. He has presented to the former Vice President Al Gore when he came out to visit Brisbane. He's hung out with Will Smith,
Smitty Smith,
in Hong Kong,
the Prince of Bel-Air.
So there's going to be a story there. He sipped tea with the former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull.
Yeah.
English breakfast?
I think it was.
Wasn't much conversing. He was a tough man.
All right. Yeah. And he's been featured everywhere. Sunrise, 60 Minutes, Today Show, National Geographic, ABC, Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon? Did you get slimes?
It was Nick TV, Nick Kids.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Well, that's the guest rap sheet. Please welcome this ridiculous man, Teejay Pabari.
Woo!
Thank you for having me, Luke.
Mate.
Cheers, mate.
So,
wow, what a rap sheet.
I know this man because he went to my old school.
Right.
And
what school?
John Paul College.
Cool. JPC.
So, and I used to go back and speak to all the Year 12s before they graduated.
And this man was speaking to you.
No, I was on a panel with him at some stage.
What?
You were talking about it the other day, but I forgot.
Yeah, I was in grade 10, and then he was also on a panel. It was like an alumni event.
Yeah, it was an alumni event. But I usually speak to the grade 12s when they graduated because I would, one of the old teachers who was awesome, Cuthie,
good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy.
I was the person who gave everyone a fucking reality check before they left school after being muddy cuddled a little bit towards the later years of their schooling. And it was awesome. Everyone responded well. But everyone was talking about this dude, and I went, I have to fucking meet him.
Yeah.
And we ended up, having... I don't actually even remember that.
Really?
I'd have no recollection, bro. I'm getting early Alzheimer's from not sleeping again.
Too much sunlight. Not enough sunlight.
Not enough sunlight. Well, we got lots of windows here.
Yeah.
But and that's where I met him the first time, and then we've crossed paths multiple times through different entrepreneurship events and just in life, and as a result, birds of a feather flock together, and we go after it. And we haven't probably spoken to each other properly.
It's been a while.
2 years.
Like, I see your stuff on social media, but
no,
haven't actually seen
you. You were up north.
We were,
and that's when I talked to you on the phone, and then you were coming back. So
awesome.
But bro, welcome.
What a wrap up that was. That was ridiculous.
That people were probably going to switch off because it was so long the first.
Yeah.
No.
They thought it was the credits.
So I want to. We usually go in and go. So how was school for you? But
hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Primary school.
So primary school, and then what did you hate about it? First of all,
like I just wanted to start my career, right? Like, I think
What?
I wanted. So I remember, I think I was 9 years old, and I was in grade 4,
Right.
and we lived in the south side of Brizzy, and we lived reasonably close to like Callanvale Central,
Yep.
and Eagle Boys was hiring, and like I just wanted to make money. I wanted to start a career straight away,
Right.
and obviously they didn't accept my resume, but I just wanted to start, whether it be in work, whether it be volunteering, whatever it was. I just wanted to start doing something.
Wow. Okay.
And that was the start. Yeah.
That's a quite incredible drive from someone like that's so young. Did your parents put that into you, or did you just sort of see the workforce and you're like, I want to get into this so I can begin whatever this journey is?
Yeah, like mum and dad worked pretty hard. They first gen
Yep.
Aussie immigrants. Dad moved from East Africa, mum moved from England. So they both worked extremely hard.
Yep.
But just sitting in school, like they sent me to, obviously us, to a very good school. But
What do your parents do? Sorry.
So dad's an accountant,
Yep.
and he worked for one of the large accounting firms at the time. And mum was also in accounting at the time.
Okay, cool.
So parents taught me about financial literacy, which was awesome from a really young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely that was I am so glad that
Yeah.
they taught me about the world of money, because most kids don't get taught that, and that's why we do what we do right now. But
Well, money's usually taboo.
right,
Well, I
At
think
home.
I think we're deprived of that knowledge in school as well. Like I was never taught how to do my tax in school.
but you
or-
learnt about long division.
Yeah,
and
exactly
algebra.
right. I know
Like,
trigonometry and pi and the mitochondria is the powerhouse of a cell, but I don't know how to do my tax. I don't know how to do anything that's so valuable to me now.
Yeah.
Which is
Exactly.
so that's awesome that you benefit from that. And you hated primary school.
I struggled. Like I'd be YouTubing all the things that I was genuinely passionate about. But I'd be sitting in class, and
I was YouTubing dogs talking.
like I was probably doing that as well, right? But
I just had to laugh because I had a laptop in grade 4,
That's
but
the
we
one.
didn't have fucking YouTube. So when you're saying you're YouTubing in primary
That
school,
was dial-up internet still a thing? When
yeah,
you
it
were
was,
grade
bro. I had dial-up, bro.
four?
Sorry, keep going.
Sorry.
well, like I was a skinny Indian, I still am, but skinny Indian nerd kid. So
Me
I
too.
was able to get around the YouTube block system and whatnot. So during, like, I was just sitting in the class, and I was genuinely just completely unstimulated by what we were being taught, as a result of not being particularly stimulated by day-to-day classroom education. I was getting into trouble.
What were you doing?
I had things I shouldn't have had on my laptop. None of that sort of stuff.
did.
But
Grade
Like-
4, bro.
well, grade 4 they gave us our own laptops, but
Yeah.
it was just things that any disengaged school student
Games
would do.
and
Games.
yeah.
But you went bad though.
No.
Like
You
you weren't
get
getting suspended or detention.
Yeah,
or
4 times suspended.
Oh, you did?
What?
Yeah,
I didn't think so. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I got.
What'd you get suspended for?
The first one was for having things I shouldn't have had on my laptop. That was actually one.
Yeah.
Second one, got into a fight. It wasn't really a fight, but apparently if blood's involved.
Were
a
you
kid
a
scratched
violent
me.
kid?
No,
Oh, okay,
a
right.
kid scratched me,
Okay.
and I hit him back. And
Fair
if
enough.
there's- if there's blood involved, and it was a guy, if there's blood involved, they just have to suspend you. It
Oh,
was
wow.
in-house, so I don't think that technically counts, but
Yeah.
a suspension's a suspension.
Yeah.
Third one. Oh, third one.
Is this all in primary school?
Yeah, up to grade 6.
What?
So I ruined an interactive whiteboard and then lied about it.
That's so fair.
So-
Those things are expensive.
So I don't know if you did, like in grade 4 you had to do like this maze made out of paper mache.
Right.
And you had to combine your passion and art to create this paper mache
Yeah.
maze. I did it on an interactive whiteboard, which cost the school thousands of dollars, and got into a lot of trouble for that. But like, I couldn't engage with what school was teaching me.
Yep.
I'd learn those same skills in a very different way
Sure.
with YouTube and alternate items, but the way school was teaching me, one teacher for 25 kids just did not work. And I wasted perhaps the first 6 years of school, and mum and dad certainly wasted a lot of money during that process because I couldn't engage in that sort of environment.
Did you learn how to socialize though? Like, because I was the same. I remember after grade 1, my first semester, that we got my parents came out for teacher interviews, and they're like, "Your kid is retarded,"
Yep.
and they're like, "Oh, okay," and then literally like, "If you don't do your work, Luke, you're getting kept down." and then for the next there was a pattern, so I'd just smoke it for the second semester. So every year from grade 1 to grade 5, it was actually grade 6. And grade 7 I started doing some work, but grade 1 to grade 5 I literally failed every single semester, and they're like, your kid's got learning disabilities, and then I would just be like,
Bing.
and smoke it.
Yeah, like I was a C&D student.
Yeah.
I went to occupational therapists, speech therapists. They literally tried a bit of everything.
That's insane.
I didn't get any of that.
You know what's so insane? I'm half Indian, half Greek as
Okay,
well.
cool.
So growing up through primary school and I think high school, a bit of high school maybe, my sister had assisted English learning, but I didn't. What was it called? I forgot what it was called, but she went to some English class with like all the foreign kids that weren't from here, even though both of my parents were born here.
ESL.
But I never, ESL, sorry, yeah. And I never went to it.
Oh,
I never got asked
you
to.
guys are lucky to have that much care about you. Anyway, so you finished primary, and then what changed into like grade 7?
Like I was a nerd in primary school. Like I loved tech. I genuinely was immersed in the world of technology.
Yep.
I had a very academic sister who was younger than me. And she was like an A grade student. She was an Indian parent's dream. I, on the other hand, was just completely disengaged. When she'd be doing like 100 co-curriculars on weekends, I'd be just telling them, Mum and Dad, to drop me to the Apple Store or drop me to JB Hi-Fi.
All right.
Like I could literally
Like you
just
a
fuck
geek.
around in JB Hi-Fi for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And find great satisfaction and excitement
In technology.
from playing with every single device. And I'd touch the keyboards of every single one
Were you
of
just
them.
learning about them, or
Yeah.
what did you find fascinating about it?
It got to the point where like the actual staff members at the various department stores, like at the start they were like, this kid's going to steal something. But like after a couple of months, they knew who I was every Saturday.
job.
When my sister was going to like swimming lessons, they'd actually disconnect them off the security tag so I could take photos of them. And I'd have my dad's 3.2 megapixel Canon camera and take pictures of the inside of them, the outside. And I started writing reviews about the electronics that I'd be playing with.
Wow.
How
How old were you?
I was 9.
This is ridiculous. I just got
Yeah.
goosebumps. You're a freak, by the way.
It was like I loved tech. Like I still love tech.
I know
think
you
it's
do.
awesome.
Yeah.
But that was literally the start. I genuinely loved playing with tech. Like
Yep.
it didn't matter what it was. It could be like a crappy laptop or like I'd just be playing with any piece of tech.
When you said you like pulling apart and taking photos, like when you do that, for me, it's just a green board with lots of wires that I know something runs through there,
Yeah.
and it's got chips.
Blue, red.
What goes through your mind when you're like exploring a
motherboard.
motherboard?
Like probably something very similar, but
But it's entertaining.
But it's entertaining. One of my cousins also was a nerd growing up, and he smashed the very first iPhone. It was like the iPhone 2. It was silverback, and it was like brand new when it launched. And he broke the machine. And he's like, you couldn't get a screen replacement at the time. You either just bought a new phone or you left it aside. And he gave me that phone when I was quite young. So that got released in 2007. I would have been 8 years old then, 7, 8 years old. And when he gave me that phone, like it was just an old iPhone. If you turned it around, the screen wasn't cracked. It looked like a real iPhone. And over a couple of months, I managed to actually fix that phone. And I realized that, you know what? Like that was something that someone discarded because at the time Apple didn't replace screens.
Yeah.
You just got rid of it. I actually managed to turn this into the phone completely worked.
How did you do that?
So I just learnt from YouTube, learnt from blogs, forums, that sort of thing. And even though the screen was cracked, I wasn't able to change the screen because you couldn't buy a screen.
Yeah.
But I managed to deactivate like a third of the screen so that all of the content would be on the first
Half of it.
2/3 of the screen. So like, obviously it wasn't like you couldn't use it properly, but you could see all the content on the first 2/3 of the screen. You could swipe, you could touch, you could play games, etc. And I was the only kid in grade 5 with an iPhone with 2/3 of the screen working. And that was when I was like, this is my thing. Like I didn't really know what in tech I wanted to focus on, but I knew this is the area that I was reasonably good at. I could fix things, so I didn't want to be a repair person, but I could do it.
Were you conscious? Like, were you actually conscious? Like, I'm fucking good at this, and like you could feel yourself learning. Like, were you actually conscious? Because I know a lot of people like I was good at running, but I didn't think about it consciously until it got into my high school and started going up through the teams.
I don't think I was conscious that I was I was good at it. I was conscious of the very fact of the fact that school perhaps wasn't for me.
Yeah.
This was slightly more in line with my passion. So while perhaps people didn't identify their passion at that age, I knew that was my passion, and that sort of reaffirmed it.
I think it's awesome that we sort of emulate the different learning capabilities of people and how people learn, like kinesthetic learners, etc. And you sort of realize that at a really young age that one teacher, 25 students, that's not how you retain information or learn new skills or anything like that. You need a more hands-on approach, or you need to sort of know the ins and outs of something before you then attain that skill, which is incredible. I think a lot of people go through their entire life not knowing how they actually retain information.
Like some kids just want to like build cool things and use their hands. And I
Yeah.
think that's totally fine. But you don't really get told that until grade 11 and grade 12
Yep.
or grade 10 when you start picking subjects. Why can't we encourage young people just to build cool things and use their
100%.
hands from a young age?
Instead of having a generalized knowledge on every single topic, hone in on the talent. Yeah, okay. So get back on the topic now. Sorry, that's so incredible. Going into high school, when did you know? When did that entrepreneurial mindset kind of kick in, and you said, "This is it. This is what I want to do"? Because did you start ASC while you were in high school?
Not in its current form.
Okay.
So I was taking pictures of all these electronics, and I ended up putting it onto a tech blog, and I'd be writing reviews. So if I'd see a new phone in JB Hi-Fi or the Apple Store, I'd take pictures of them, and then I'd write a review on my website that I created on a free Blogspot URL. And I'd be writing these reviews for a very young audience or a very old audience, seniors who...
Very dumbed down kind of
Very
thing.
dumbed down, because that's all I knew. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know anything else. And initially I was just talking to myself because no one was reading it. And eventually we built up this amazing following of like 40,000 viewers,
Wow.
unique viewers per day, that were following my tech blog. And we realized like you've got the CNETs and the tech crunchers that were writing very detailed articles of the ins and outs of those devices.
Too hard to follow and keep track of and understand, I guess, for a lot of people.
Just super
I was just
tech.
writing pros and cons.
Yeah.
Did it look cool? Was it light? Was it heavy? Was it fast? Was it slow? Like that's all I was writing about.
Yeah.
And I'd do all the work for them. I'd say, if you want to buy it, the cheapest place. I wasn't getting an affiliate from any of these things, but it was just a dumbed down version of CNET and TechCrunch, and people wanted to read it,
Yeah.
which was cool. And that's Google ended up asking us to put ads on the website, which was pretty cool. And that's when I realized that this is not just a hobby. Like we were getting $10 per day from Google Ads at the time.
Wow.
On a normal weekday.
Yeah.
And then on weekends when I'd go to JB Hi-Fi and whatnot, I'd be clicking on all my ads. So I'd be getting like $150 per day from a weekend. And Google at the time was paying like $3 per click. So anyone that clicked on an ad on my website
Wow.
would
What?
end up, and it's like, I don't know what it is now, but Google AdSense was amazing because that sort of turned that little passion or interest I had in
Into
tech
business.
into
It's a revenue, yeah.
you know what? I can get tuck shop every day. And that's what it was. Like I had no other ambition apart from $2.20 was a sausage roll, and
a play
my
water,
business
yeah.
pays for that. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm happy, and that was probably the start of when I realized that this could actually be the pathway.
So can you explain what ASC is as a business, as it sits, as it sat then to what it is now, and
Yeah,
what
sure.
it actually does?
So in grade 10, I like growing up, mum and dad, as I said, worked pretty hard. They worked full time.
Sure.
And every single school holiday, they'd send me to either a vacation care or a school holiday program. Now, some of the school holiday programs they'd send me to, and a very popular one for them, not with me, was this rugby and cricket camp. Now, it was probably cheap. It was either that or vacation
Were
care.
you a sports guy?
Look at me. No,
bro.
not at all.
Those fingers.
I play tennis, but
Yeah.
and I go for a run, but like
You're not a-
definitely not built for
You're
rugby.
not a fullback,
Like,
yeah.
I would just get crushed.
Yeah.
And like a number of school holidays, they kept sending me to this rugby and cricket camp. And I don't know if it was like, oh, they're the two Aussie sports and we've moved to Australia, go
Let's try and
assimilate.
integrate, yeah.
But like I wasn't built for those sports.
Yeah.
And just growing up, I had some really bad like school holiday programs like vacation care is just always pretty bad anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Then you've got rugby and cricket, and then they finally, when I said I didn't want to be outside for my school holidays, sent me to a chess camp. And like I like chess, but not for 5 days. And like that's a lot of chess.
Yeah, it's a lot of chess.
And the first initiative that I started in grade 10 was, could we start a cool school holiday program? And we called it business camp. 3 days.
Love this.
Where
This is
kids
awesome.
could just sell shit for 3 days. And there was no curriculum. It was just me at the front of the classroom with a couple of my mates from school. We sold some tickets and we started teaching kids during the school holidays how to sell things. And we'd literally just walk around the streets of Brisbane City.
That's badass.
Kids would just sell things.
That should be, and I know you're working on that, but that should be the curriculum in school.
It's real.
That is insane.
How much more real is teaching kids to the confidence to get up and approach a stranger, the ability to come up with an impromptu presentation. All of these skills from a young age are just so damn important. Exactly.
And the flow of a business.
Yeah.
Well, and also doing the work.
Yeah.
Like you've actually got to execute.
Do something.
You can't just read it and write it down on a test and you're like, yeah, it's actually execution of what you're learning. And then learning and then adapting it and then executing it in a different way and testing and measuring.
So was this a hit straight away? Were you selling tickets?
Yep.
So
what?
The parents loved it.
So the parents, you were just like the teacher then?
Yeah. Like in grade 9 or grade
did
10.
you, obviously it's a bit hard for people at the same year level. You're probably teaching people younger than you, the same age.
Grade 4 to grade 6.
Yeah. Did you get the respect and were they retaining your knowledge and no one mucking around in class? You know what I mean? Not just taking the mickey. They would
we weren't teachers, so we were building relationships with these kids as mates. We were older versions of them. We weren't building a student to teacher relationship, which is hard to build. And if you don't have a good relationship or haven't had good relationships with your teachers, you're probably not going to have a good relationship with your school holiday teacher.
Yeah.
So we were just they called us by our first names. We rocked up to class. We'd have breakfast, lunch, dinner with them, or afternoon tea with them. So it wasn't kids eat from your lunch boxes. We'd take them to a restaurant and we'd sit down with them. It was how I wanted to be taught in school. And even now, so that was the first, it was called business camp. We still run it. But that's how we started the ASE group. It was, let's teach young people as equals. Let's teach young people as mates. Let's build relationships, really authentic relationships with young people as mates. And then we can teach them skills, but let's build the rapport first. Let's connect with them. And then let's start teaching them some actual skills.
Yep.
So getting them in line, essentially in the right headspace to actually learn and get in that position. Do you remember the first course? Were you nervous?
How many people?
I think there were about 10 kids. I remember we had a number of kids from my old school that ended up joining that program in younger years. And we never had company T-shirts. We literally, I don't even know how parents trusted us with their kids.
That's what I'm struggling to comprehend.
He's very charismatic.
Yeah. I can understand that.
When I first met him,
we didn't lose any anything, but
we didn't lose any.
They trusted us.
And when I first met Taj, he wasn't a grade 7er.
You can tell he's at a higher level.
Yeah, he's just an adult. The way he thought and the way he communicated it was just so much more advanced. But it wasn't mature. It was just, and it wasn't innocent. It was just
intellectual.
Yeah, I don't know. You're just a prodigy, bro.
It's insane, man.
They trusted us with their kids.
It's
so
wild.
We must have done something great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I remember I facilitated it with one of my really good mates, Tia, and she was in school with me at the time. We'd been in school together since preschool. And I said, she was studying childcare at the time. So I sort of figured, well, at least we've got some education experience. She's studying childcare. There's some link there.
Yeah.
But the parents left their kids with us they dropped them at 8, picked them up at 4. They trusted us with their kids.
That's awesome.
Which was amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so 10 was the smallest, the first group. What's the largest group you've now had one of these camps?
Our Sydney ones are 40, 50 kids, which is pretty cool.
So you're running it in every state?
So not in every state, WA is a different planet for us, but certainly on the East Coast, we do a lot with Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra.
Wow.
Which is, and some regional, we do Townsville along the way as well. But it's cool. it's a cool program. There was a business between the tech blog and ASE. That helped me learn a few more skills along the way. But yeah, I still run ASE. We worked with like 100,000 kids last year. Which was
Wow,
pretty
well
cool.
done. That's awesome.
It's
It's fun.
actually amazing.
And we have just started as of the 4th of July. We now do adult education as well. So it's been a cool little ride.
Because obviously you kicked that off, and that was your first true business, I imagine.
So I had a company called 56 Creations. Which
That's
was my
that.
first
Yes,
one.
that was the first
That's
one.
the first real business.
Yeah, because you were at school, and then all of a sudden, this dude's on the news everywhere, getting recognised. When did that all kick off? And what was that catalyst?
So that was the mid-grade 8, start of grade 9. I had this idea for a do-it-yourself tablet for kids. So
That's right.
Lego of the 21st century was the concept. Kids could build their own Android tablet from scratch. So we'd give them a motherboard. We'd give them
So ludicrous.
a camera. So instead of just... So I love tech, and I thought, instead of just watching like all these people launch their products and then write a review, wouldn't it be cool if I could actually create my own?
Where did you import all the products from? So
that was part of the problem. It was from China. I love the Chinese people, but they were incredibly hard to work with. And unless you're ordering massive quantities, we were just getting killed. And
Do they know how old you were?
they didn't.
Yeah.
No. So it was the first business. We sold a lot of them though. Like
I
remember. 60 Minutes picked up the story, and that took us the viewership on that.
How many
one
did you
day,
sell?
10,000 pre-orders.
Wow.
Pre-order, bruh. That's how you sell.
And some of them had paid 5% deposits. Other people had paid 100%.
What were you selling him?
$369. So the people that it would have been great if we executed on this idea. The viewership on 60 Minutes when they picked up the story, we had a 20-minute episode about digital literacy and STEM skills, and it was centered around
This is insane.
the work we were doing. And
Sorry. Get some WD-40.
and they had 1 million people watching that weekend when that was the Aussie viewership, which was a massive proportion of our population.
Yeah.
It took us Sunrise then picked it, or Sunrise was first, then 60 Minutes, then CNBC, ABC, just everyone picked up the story.
Wow.
And it was a cool concept. Everyone was, Barack Obama was the US president at the time, and he was on this coding agenda, STEM skills. Malcolm Turnbull was comms minister at the time, and he was talking about the importance of STEM skills and coding and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I was like, great, well, let's leave the software side. Let's teach kids how to actually build the hardware behind the software they consume, and people loved it. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to execute.
Yeah.
We struggled getting stock in. We were working with small... So the tech was one part. We probably could have dealt with the tech. The second part was child safety. We were giving a do-it-yourself tablet to kids. There was choking hazards. There was electrical safety hazards.
Yeah.
We just could not get certification.
Yeah, okay.
As soon as we were getting close to certification in Australia, we'd have a problem with manufacturing in China. And we just went through this cycle for about 1.5 years of making no real visible progress, spending huge amounts of money trying to get certification done. And after 1.5 years, we decided that we had a 16-year-old who'd bought or a parent who'd bought this tablet for their 16-year-old. That child turned 18, moved out of home, and still not received their tablet. And some of them had literally paid 100%. Other people had only paid 5%.
Yeah.
And we decided this is not a proper business. It was a significant amount of money if we executed on it.
It's such a great idea though, because there's so many kids out there that's what they're passionate about. All of these kids that are gaming these days or on their computers and coding and working out how a computer works, or how do we put this together and take it apart. That's just what kids are passionate about. And for you to bring that to someone, I can just imagine the euphoric feeling that they
it would have been a euphoric feeling if we delivered it.
If you've delivered, just I guess from a little nerdy kid, just thinking that someone else thinks like me and understands how I learn or how I want to learn, and
that was the idea.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That was the idea.
So how did it wrap up in the end? Because that's your first.
Not very well.
Did you have
First
to give
liquidation.
full refunds or?
Yeah, we did. We raised some money to give refunds, which was
Because you would have put money in to get the certification and all the products and
It was a lot.
You
Like
would burn
hardware
through-
is
you burn through that
insane.
cash.
Like it's really hard.
Did you have much help from your parents, or was it just all you? And is anyone else on that journey with you? Or?
Yeah, so I had some co-founders, which was cool. So people who were a few years older than me. Like mum and dad were great. Mum really wanted me to go down a traditional pathway, like lawyer, med. Obvious, like
What is this high risk behavior?
That's exactly it. Like right up until grade 12 as well, mum still thought there was hope for me going to university and following a traditional pathway. Dad was cool. Like they knew the world of finances really well, and they both helped with the numbers side, which was great. But yeah, we had a couple of co-founders to help, but hardware is tough.
Well, manufacturing stuff.
Manufacturing is hard. Like, especially when, like, I was in school for 40 weeks of a year during that time. Like, school and mum and dad were pretty cool with me taking days off to travel. But manufacturing was hard. We had a lot of interest in the tablet at the time. We had a lot of interest in the computer hardware at the time. We should have raised a significant amount of money. We didn't. We raised some angel investment. We should have used the momentum from all of that media coverage and the pre-sales in particular to raise a significant amount of venture capital at the time. We didn't.
That's the learning.
You don't know what you don't know. So
That's the learning.
we just had no idea that was a route.
Did you have any big other entrepreneurs that saw you in the news and reach out and try to give you a leg up?
Yeah, like so one of our first investors in that business was a guy named Steve McDonald, and he's ex-Macquarie Bank. He ended up founding a company called Infinitas Asset Management in Sydney. And he came on board as one of our first investors. He connected with me on LinkedIn, said, I heard your story.
You had LinkedIn in high school?
I had it from when I was 8.
Dude.
Yeah. It was amazing. I
got
met some
LinkedIn
amazing
4 years
people.
ago.
This dude's well connected.
And like he just reached out and he saw the story and was like, hey, if I'm next in Brisbane or you're ever in Sydney, let me know and we'll organise time. I was never going to be in Sydney. And when he was in Brizzy, Dad took me to Emporium at Fortitude Valley, or when it was Emporium.
Yep.
And he just dropped me there with my 18-year-old co-founder. And Steve just said, I love what you guys do. How much do you need? And he
Open the checkbook.
He helped us throughout that whole process, from connecting dots, introductions to some really awesome people, and he's an active investor in my current business. So while that was a disaster, he backed us and continues to back us. So we met some amazing people during that process. Like it was amazing. Like met some truly awesome people.
What was next? So that all wrapped up.
Business camp. We thought we don't know how to.
So you started a business camp.
So business camp was the first initiative of the ASC group. We figured that like one of the hardest parts of starting a business is actually finding product market fit. Our problem, we had a great product. The market wanted it. It was a great fit. Our problem was manufacturing. And we thought, well, like that not many people do that. Let's teach other kids how to do the exact same thing. So we started teaching kids how to start their own business. We didn't really feel qualified at the time to teach them how to execute on their ideas because we didn't do that. But we certainly knew how to start one, and that's what we were teaching.
You should have incorporated the business camp with the tablet making and had the other one place.
Child labour.
But they get to take home the tablet, you know what I mean? Like a technological camp.
STEM camp. Yeah, we run them now. Yeah.
Really? Oh, okay.
STEM camp.
I
was about to take your idea.
I think, though, that it's always that feeling of imposter syndrome when you go through that, but you experienced big failure in entrepreneurship on that first try, which is like like most people don't ever recover from that. Number one.
Did it ever deter you? Was it a thought in your brain that you maybe thought this wasn't for me?
Like, I think when you're young, you don't really
have that fear. Yeah.
You don't have that fear. Yeah. You go for the impossible, and when you fail, I guess you're failing above everyone else. And like you're not as worldly wise. You don't know, like you've got nothing to compare it to. Yeah. So for me, it was like, all right, well, just like I failed a maths exam, I'll just get given another one. You'll do it again. And now I look at my current business and I'm like, oh, I've got a house, I've got cats, I've got a partner. Like you don't really have the flexibility of like the cats won't like their lifestyle if we move into an apartment. So but at that age, it was just let's just give everything a go. Like if it doesn't work, fine, we'll move on to the next thing. So, it was just easy. It was easy then.
How many businesses are you running at the moment?
So I run one organization
Yeah.
called the ASE Group. Under that, we've got 4 initiatives. We've
Awesome.
got a school of entrepreneurship, a school of employment, business camp, school holiday programs, and then we've got a youth agency. So
This is insane.
Yeah, it's cool.
This is so insane.
You finished. So the ASE group's kicked off. How did you go about growing the business? Because you start off with the one program, and then what were the steps? Because like again, you're not even graduated school. You got employees.
How old are you now? Sorry.
I'm 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got employees. Like was all like straight legit from the start and doing everything the right way.
Yeah.
You learning
Yeah.
along the way and like
Yeah, we were learning a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
So after 56 tablet business, I started 56 creations, still attached to 56, but more teaching digital literacy skills in the form of workshops. So it got us more to that face-to-face delivery. So teaching kids about coding, teaching kids about STEM skills, teaching kids about just all these good digital skills in the classroom and through conferences. So I did that during school. I ended up leaving 56 Creations, the STEM workshop business in 2019. We ended up working with 45,000 kids, I think, when I left.
Did you exit and sell or?
No, it still runs.
Yeah.
I still sit on the board of that company. By the end, my passion for starting it was teaching kids about STEM skills. We were doing a bit of STEM skills with kids, but we also started delivering programs for senior Australians, teaching them about digital literacy.
Wow.
I love my grandparents, but certainly not passionate about senior programs or elderly Australians. I think they've contributed a lot to society, but it's not something that I can commit 7 days a week to doing.
It's different form as well. They're set in their ways and
they've already learnt and attained all this information, whereas you teaching the youth, they're still learning and growing and absorbing all this information and have new methods of thinking.
Totally. And it was like the youth stuff was cool. And we were still doing some youth stuff with 56, but I just found digital literacy, teaching kids about digital literacy and coding wasn't my passion. We did a lot of research into the skills we're teaching actually that useful, and certainly there is a need for programmers and coders in the workforce of the future. But perhaps media is selling that to us a lot more than the demand actually is. It's a basic supply and demand argument. If you train every single young person to code, in 10 years' time, you're going to have a huge oversupply of computer programmers. Therefore, the price of hiring computer programmers goes down. So as an educational institution, should we really be teaching young students about computer programming? Our response was no. That would be an unwise thing to do, because just like we trained a generation of kids how to do administration, the price of hiring administrators went down. So from just a basic supply and demand point of view, teaching kids about digital literacy skills, in particular computer programming, in my opinion, was not a wise thing to do. But there is a huge demand for those skills, so the organization still runs. I sit on the board of the company, but they run separately, and there's people who are more passionate about digital literacy and STEM, and they've worked with now 60,000 people so far.
Were you actually doing the teaching as well, or were you more often?
That's what I was going to ask. So you know how to code, you know how to stem cell, you know all this kind. You know how to. Do, that's it.
Yeah, I learned everything from YouTube. Like I hate coding now. Like I don't touch it, but I learned it.
When did you learn coding?
Oh, like grade. Oh, when I was 9. So when I first started the tech blog.
What the hell?
So, I just learned it.
Yeah. This is probably one of the biggest key things, like for our listeners. There is no reason in the entire world that you cannot learn how to do anything now. YouTube is a monster, and you can literally learn anything off YouTube.
Yeah,
totally.
Anything.
And free.
I think you're right about the media side of things too, because I hear all the time that coding in particular, that coding's such a career pathway for kids, and lots of kids should learn to code, blah, blah, blah. But you're right, if we have this influx of coders and stem cell gurus, and it's just gonna the equilibrium's just gonna then back
Shift
out.
massively. And like that, that's just right now in Queensland primary schools, we're teaching every kid how to code.
Yep.
So that's not just a far-fetched thought. That's the reality.
Okay.
We're training every single kid right now how to code. So in 12 years' time, we're going to have heaps of them. The good ones are always going to be paid a huge amount of money, but do we need every single kid how to learn it? I don't think so. What we need these kids, every single kid, to learn is people skills. We need every single kid who can communicate, public speak, hold a conversation, collaborate and work in groups. All these soft skills, these life skills that perhaps you can't learn from a textbook, but you learn through experimentation. And if the whole idea of school is to prepare young people for the real world, how much more real is learning about human skills, people skills? And that's what a lot of our work is now, is teaching kids about life skills.
Amazing. So I call that learning how to be fun to play with. Because in the real world, if you are fun to play with, everyone likes you.
You get more play dates.
So you get to hang out with people because they want to spend time with you, and then opportunities open up, and like you're fun to play with. So I think that's how I thought school was.
I love it.
I hated school for the work.
Yeah.
I literally was there to pass and have fun, and that's where like I learned all of my people skills at John Paul. I fucking loved my school life just because of the social life.
Lunchtimes. Great for hiring your future employees. Like I still work with someone I was in grade 4 with.
No
and
way.
She's our office manager. So
Tia?
No, she left us, which was fine. But Gabby and I went to school. We were in grade 4 together, and she didn't work for us straight away. And a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, she was like, "Oh, I messaged her and said, do you want to jump across?" And she's still with us. And
amazing.
Like, school is just a great opportunity to meet some bloody awesome people. And at some point, the path's just
well, I had the same at
right?
university.
Yeah.
I just went there because I wanted to be. Literally, I went to university because I wanted to be the first person in both sides of my family to graduate.
Yeah,
and so that was a huge accomplishment. But I the same thing. Networked the fuck out of that joint, and I made some of the best friends I have. And they're just on it, put me out of my comfort zone. I joined every single club, and geeked out on there as a former jock, and I literally met the most incredible people, and they are killing it today. And it's so good to be able to call someone up, and they're keeping you they're real friends, holding you accountable, ask the hard questions, because you almost developed a semi-professional relationship being at uni because you had to pass something.
Yeah.
But then your true friendship came on that. But again, same thing. School or university is an awesome place.
Success by association, right? You surround yourself with amazing people. Some of that amazingness rubs off on you as well.
Yeah.
I know that we haven't gone past your schooling life yet because you've had just such an incredible, I guess.
Well, halfway through his life, bro.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
You had such an incredible succession through high school and whatnot. Was it ever, and I know, sorry, going back to where you said the stereotypical Indian parents and the child, studying and going to university, was it ever a thought to do that? Did you ever think, fuck, maybe I should go to uni and do accounting like parents or something like that? Or did you always sort of know that's not the path for me?
Oh, I knew definitely that wasn't the path. I didn't have the grades for it.
Was there anyone in your school that was like you as well? Sorry, just for viewers as well, discretion. Or were you kind of like the innovator of that kind of thought process in your around your
I'm sure there
social life?
were that I think I just found my passion really. And I find that by trying a bit of everything.
Yeah.
From a very young age, I was exploring the different careers, not just from a magazine, but I was literally experiencing what a career in hardware was like. I was experiencing what a career in journalism through blogging was like. I literally experienced a bit of everything, so that when I hit high school, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what my passion was. So I think I just got a massive head start from everyone else. I just began that exploration journey in primary school, whilst everyone else started that exploration journey from grade 12 if they were lucky.
What motivates you? Is it the human connection and actually
because you have very good intrapersonal skills,
good, or are you chasing that green?
I genuinely love what I do. I have the best job in the world. When I want to go into the classroom to work with kids, I get to work with kids. When I want to go to the classroom to work with adults, I get to work with adults. When I want to be in the boardroom, I get to work in the boardroom. When I want to paint, I'm currently renovating a house, and I get to paint. And just the flexibility of my life, the diversity of what we get to do is incredible. Like, I genuinely have the best job in the world. Like, I get as entrepreneurs, when we have our highs, they're a lot higher than the average human being. In turn, when we have our lows, they're a lot lower than the average human being. And as long as you can manage those lows, the highs are amazing. And
manage highs and lows. You get carried away both ways.
And like, just sitting in that middle state is unreal. Like, that's just an everyday life, and I don't think any other job I could possibly get the amount of satisfaction I do from what I do. And I'm obviously incredibly grateful for my, like, the gig I've got right now. I literally have the best possible job anyone could give me.
Amazing. Tell us about your speaking career, because when did that kick off?
Keynotes.
Yeah, you've spoken at TED Talks, and when TED Talks was the shit, like everyone.
Yeah, now everyone does them. But look, I like speaking.
Were you always a confident kid?
No, like, I used to nervously tear up before getting up on stage. Like, I hated
for the TED Talks,
any
or
talk,
just any talk,
like school talks. I just tear up and wouldn't be able to get words out. Like, I hated talking. Then when all the media stuff happened, like, people wanted me to talk, which is fine. I did a bit with, like, school students. And when you can talk to a group of high school students about what you do, you can pretty much talk to anyone. They're the hardest possible group. You don't get much back from high school students. And like, most of my first job was teaching kids about digital literacy and STEM skills in high schools and primary schools. And I just learnt by speaking to kids, and lots of people wanted me to speak, share my story, and sort of the things that I was passionate about. And a lot of that was based around the future of work, skills of the future, human skills, people skills, rather than technical skills. So I did a bit of speaking, which was cool. I did my first year out of high school in New York, met some amazing people. And the speaking stuff was, like, initially I hated it. But as a result of it, I met some epic people, like people I was on the stage with were just bloody awesome. Like leaving aside, like, hopefully people got something out of what I was saying. But for me personally,
what did you talk about when you did your presentations?
So a lot of them were based around like the skills that I believe were important for young people to learn from a young age, how to inspire future innovators, what parents can do to inspire entrepreneurial young people. And
amazing.
Like,
because it's not for everyone too. That entrepreneurial mindset or pathway isn't for everyone.
Perhaps I think there is some element of entrepreneurial DNA, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think entrepreneurial skills, in my opinion, are life skills.
Yep.
When you start a business, you become a jack of all trades. You learn people skills. You learn how to work in groups. You learn how to negotiate. You learn about finance. You're forced to learn about financial literacy. When you start a business, you learn a bit of everything. And I think even though some people might not want to go and start a business, when you start a business, you learn about everything. So from a young age, starting a business is amazing, because even if you don't make $1 million or whatever your metric of success is in that business, you'll learn some amazing life skills that make you so damn employable. And I love hiring ex-entrepreneurs. I love hiring ex-business owners, because you know you're getting someone who knows a bit about everything.
Has experienced the full scale.
Understands.
Yeah.
They don't just come and say, I've done a Bachelor of Business and now I'm an expert at business.
Theoretically.
A business owner has experienced everything.
Yeah.
They know how hard it is, and they're the most
they actually
employable
solve
people.
problems.
They solve problems. They're autonomous. They adapt. And they're the most employable people. And when we tell our young people, like, we literally want every young person starting a business, if they start one, if they go and execute and do it forever, that's up to them. But we want them to start one, because the skills they learn from starting one and the first even year, 18 months, make them so damn employable. And we think that's a pretty important life skill.
I think they actually understand how important their role is in a team in that company then, because
accountability.
Correct.
Like, how do you teach that?
Until you realize that if that person in my team doesn't perform, that really affects the business. So when it gives them a different perspective on it, and without a lot of the stress or burden, if they shift into an employee or entrepreneur role
in a bigger organization.
Correct. Yeah.
And like that, the value for a business owner to have someone who's run a business, even if it wasn't successful, is massive. I know I place a huge emphasis on our hiring process of people who've gone and started a business. It doesn't matter how successful it was, but they've experienced it. And for a business owner, that's invaluable.
So through this, I guess this uprise of career and business and entrepreneur mindset, you mentioned you've met a lot of cool people. And one of the points that Luke has written down is that you've rubbed shoulders with Will Smith.
Yeah, that was cool.
Tell us that story.
Yeah.
So I was on a study tour with Westpac. So we applied for this Westpac Business of Tomorrow program. I was living in New York at the time. Obviously, Aussie company. We applied for it. We were shortlisted to be one of the 200. And then a week later, they said, I actually got a call from the CEO of Westpac. And they were like, hey, you've actually won. You're in the top 20. And as part of that, they gave us $100K as well as a study tour across the US and China. I was 17 at the time.
Sorry, I'm not being rude. I'm just writing notes so I can remember the question so I don't interrupt you like I just did.
So now I've lost my train of thought,
Sorry.
Luke. But I was 17 at the time. The age limit was 18. And they were like, you can't go on the tour. And anyway, they actually put the general manager of Westpac Queensland as my guardian for that study tour, so that I wouldn't drink. So that I couldn't drink. He was there to make sure I got on the bus.
Yep.
I was checked into the room. There was no alcohol in my minibar. So Westpac did it really, really well.
Well done.
But they took me on this amazing study tour. We were the tiniest business there on this trip, and we were in Hong Kong on the way to Shanghai, and one of the wealthy CEOs on this study tour took me into the first class lounge, and when we walked in, there was someone who looked somewhat like Jaden Smith, and I was like, nah, couldn't be. What's he doing here?
Wait, are you on a plane right now?
No, we were in
Hong Kong.
the first class lounge
sorry,
in Hong Kong. And I was 17. I was like, all these wealthy CEOs were here taking me into this place. I could have never gone in there.
Well, you were a CEO.
I was, but tiny business.
Yeah.
And then I went to the bathroom and Will Smith was right next to me.
So you were the piss trough with Will Smith.
Yep. And I was like, I have to say something.
Hey,
are you getting jiggy with it?
So I quickly put my company T-shirt on because I had like my trolley bag with me, and I popped my company T-shirt on. And he was still washing his hands, and I was like, I know you get this a lot, but I'd love to have a chat. And he was so nice.
Really?
You probably did
He
it
didn't
the
slap
nicest
you?
way as well, because
We were in
people
the
would just go,
bathroom.
can I have a photo? And then they fuck off.
I did ask for that too. But
But you actually asked for it. I'd love to have a chat with you.
Yeah. I didn't know how much time. Like I assumed he was in an airport, but unlike seeing them outside a place, like I assume if you're at an airport in a lounge, you have time.
Yeah.
So I took a picture, and then he was cool.
What did you talk about?
Everything he said was quotable.
Keep my business name out your...
Obviously, all this other stuff now with Chris
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah.
Obviously, there's some form of problem that has come his way in his behavior management. But
How much time did he
was-
give you?
35, 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And we had to leave.
Oh, really?
How bad's that?
So you went back to the lounge and sat down and had a chat with
Yeah.
him? So-
We met in the bathroom.
You didn't
so it
sit in the
wasn't-
bathroom and
no, no.
chat to each other from cubicles.
And a couple of the others came over, and he was with his security guard. Jaden was so rude. Like,
Really?
Will asked him to come and say hello because we were the same age. And he just looked at me. He was dressed as a female, which was why I didn't completely recognize him earlier. Which there's nothing wrong with dressing as a
Yeah.
female.
That
if
was
that's
his-
your pathway.
Yeah, that was his
you do you.
deal at the time.
Like,
That was attention,
Yeah.
100%.
and he just didn't want to talk to me, and he did this, and he walked away
Well, he did that.
to his because his dad was like, come
Yeah.
talk. Like, I was his age, and I like having a mate like Jaden Smith, like even just for
Well,
from
Will would have thought you were cool because you're having a really nice conversation.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, come meet this kid."
I was just asking like
What did
was
you talk
great.
about?
Yeah, this is
tell us.
amazing.
I'm going to shut up and listen. What did you talk about?
like I was just like, what's it like being him? Like there were so many things. Like now looking back, and when I told people I met Will Smith, they were like, "Oh, you should have asked this, should have asked that." At the time, I was just stunned. Like we got off like this 15-hour flight from Seattle, so we were exhausted, but I was just stunned. Like, I probably would have sounded ridiculous, but a lot. I was just asked, like, what's it like to be him? And he was with his security guard, and we were literally just sitting in this like just open area, and he like just basic
what did he say?
Responses.
Yeah.
Like he was like, it's just life's normal if you don't if you're in your house or in a hotel room, your phone's away. We're just normal people. And the way he was talking to me was so normal. Of course I knew who it was, but he introduced himself to me as Will. Like he was just normal, and
that's so cool.
You see some people who aren't perhaps as famous as him, who've got a far bigger ego, who are a little more high in the clouds. And this guy has achieved pretty much anything. He's got all the money in the world. He's got all the recognition in the world. He's got the charity. He's got music,
acting, everything.
He's got all the merit to not give you any time.
And he was just so normal, so generous with his time. And I like if someone like that can give you his undivided attention. He didn't look at his phone once.
Yep.
That's cool.
And like if someone like that can give you his time, like we've really got no excuse when a young person needs help, wants mentoring, wants that informal coffee catch up. We've got no excuse not to give that person time. And if someone like that, like I genuinely cannot remember him pulling out his phone throughout that whole time.
Yeah.
Which was just unreal.
I think you would have caught him in a probably the most natural state as well, because he's behind closed doors. He's not.
Yeah, no one's looking for him there.
Yeah, like I've been out with some of the footy players in Brisbane, and even then, they're people filming them, like talking, like everything's being filmed. So
like we took our fair share of pictures. Luke.
Oh yeah,
we were very excited.
But like people around voyeuring on that
just
conversation.
Yeah.
No, like there was 4 or 5 of us, and
it wasn't a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, like so
just like
all the Westpac
like
people, or the study tour Westpac people were with us, and like that, I saw the ultimate act of someone who's got it all and was so damn down to earth. Like I cannot communicate. It was like talking to your best mate. Like he was just so normal. There was zero ego. Zero.
I didn't think that was going to go that way from when this conversation started. I didn't think that you were going to have a 35, 40-minute conversation with Will. And
there's going to be one off like in the counter.
Hey man, what are you here for? Like, let's get a photo, kind of sit down.
What questions did he ask you? Because I'm sure if you were that engaged, you would have had it. Like, he would have been.
What are you here for, etc.
Yeah, he was talking to you about what I did. I should have asked for contact details. But he was just asking us like.
Did you tell him about your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I literally got changed into my company shirt so that he would see and hopefully ask.
And he did, yeah.
Yeah. Like he loved what we did. Like my one regret was not asking.
Yeah. Hey,
contact details.
Next time you're in Brisbane, come see me. Here's my number.
Or a follow straight away. And that way I could actually message him.
So you could say ASE Group is Will Smith approved.
56 Creations has a photo of him with a t-shirt and a workbook. One of our workbooks.
Did you give him a t-shirt?
I gave him a workbook.
Sorry, I'm so passionate.
Like I didn't really want to give him my shirt.
You should have.
I could have. I gave him a workbook. But there were so many things that he said, and it was incredible. But seeing someone who has done it all, that down to earth, humble, it was genuinely amazing.
Yeah.
How did that change you?
Like anyone that asks for a coffee, anyone that asks for, even if it's like an hour of my time in the busiest season ever, I will always give them my time, because if someone like that can do it, like if someone can learn, even if I can help them in one little way,
that's awesome.
Even if I can't meet them in person, I'll give them a phone call or a video call straight away, because if someone like that can do it, then, and someone was that generous with me, I made zero contribution to his life. Yeah, he made the time on his holiday to spend a bit of time with me. Then really, I have no excuse not to do the same.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
So, yeah, I was very lucky with that one.
Is
That
there
was
any
pretty
one thing that he said to you? Because you said he was just busting off quotes. Is there any one thing that
But
really?
it was so normal. Like, it didn't sound weird. Like, it was just everything he said. I could have put it into it, and I did. But like everything he said, you could just perfectly summarize. Yeah,
wow, that's amazing.
Who's the coolest person that you've met personally that you think through your career now?
Like,
Or
Like
who's
I-
made the most
yeah.
impact on you?
like coolest person from a like I'm very into US politics, so meeting Al Gore was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We were organising this challenge with the Queensland government, and the Queensland government was bringing Al Gore to Brisbane, and we managed to create a youth stream where some of our kids would present their business ideas to do with climate and sustainability to Al Gore, and we were able to have this, like, I think it was 20 minutes with the minister, 10 kids, 5 of our staff, and Al Gore.
That's so cool.
Like, we were able to ask questions. Kids were able to pitch their ideas to Al Gore.
Did you like any of them?
Did he like
The ideas?
Yeah. I've actually got you guys one. I actually brought it with me.
amazing.
And it was started by these two 11-year-old boys from Noosa, and they started this e-pack, which was like a tourism sustainability kit.
Yeah.
So it's like, instead of using a plastic straw or whatever people use now, it comes with a metal straw. And Australia Zoo ended up stocking their product. This is like two 11-year-old boys.
Wow.
And they pitched to Al Gore when they were 9.
Fucking love hearing these stories.
Pretty
Seriously.
cool. I've actually got you one. So
Oh,
you'll have
bro.
to...
yeah, we'll give him a
give
shout
him a
out.
plug,
and a tag
yeah.
in there.
Absolutely. E-pack.
E-pack.
George and Carter. And they pitched to Al Gore.
We should
and
get
they
them on here.
commercialised.
I would
That would be an
love
interesting
that.
conversation.
Yeah.
Two 11-year-old boys, good kids.
I'll stop
Yep.
swearing.
Water as
There's
the
nothing-
core option.
There's
Yeah.
nothing more Luke loves than an entrepreneurial mindset, especially from a young kid.
Well, it's the same
Very
as you.
young.
It's just
Yeah.
like I love the tenacity because it takes balls. And even when you're that young, you're right. You don't know the boundaries.
So you just do.
You just
anything,
do,
yeah.
but you've got a level of execution which is rare because a lot of, and I've spoken about this in the last podcast, a lot of people, when the going gets tough, they stop and they give up. Or one of the things that annoys me, especially what's happening in school, everyone gets an award, but the real world's not like that. You either win
Or you don't.
or you
You
don't,
learn, yeah.
Job
and
seeker.
you learn how to fucking lose graciously, pick yourself up, learn, and then execute again.
Totally.
And hearing those two good little guys, we'll have to connect after that and get them on
They
here.
literally pitched to Al Gore when they were 9 years old.
That's awesome.
Bro, that's amazing.
So yeah, like, amazing opportunity.
How
Yeah.
proud are you, like, when you see that from your program?
Oh, amazing. Like, it's real. Like, if you go to Australia Zoo
Yeah.
or Australia Post in Noosa, you'll find an e-pack. So, like, yeah, they're a pretty cool example. And then, like, they're obviously a cool example, but, like, the bread and butter businesses that the kids start out of our programs are, like, we've got landscapers, we've got people,
Amazing.
we've got hairdressers, we've got people who create, like, handmade pens. So very basic micro business solutions, but they solve a community problem or fill a market need, and they make money. They're not relying on job seeker. They're actually contributing to their local economies, which we think is wonderful.
Real GDP.
Absolute. It's real growth.
It's real
This is real
GDP.
jobs and growth. And
Yeah.
like, it's not just like, we're going to create millions of jobs, but these kids are one person
They're adding value.
self-employed is one less person unemployed. So they're adding value. They're making money. They're self-sustainable, and that's what we believe is just wonderful.
I love this so much.
This is awesome.
I'm almost
Same.
speechless.
Same.
So, Al Gore, did you actually have a good chat with him? Like, what were some of the key questions that you had from him?
Yeah, so it was with like the kids and the minister.
Yeah, okay.
So it was
Were
like
you
a
full
round
like
table.
fangirling out like, Al?
Yeah, like I
Did you
have
hit him with any hard ones?
not really. No, it wasn't particularly hard. Like, we were with like these 9-year-olds as well.
Yeah.
But like, he was pretty cool. Like, just to have a former US vice president, like,
Yeah,
unreal.
pretty powerful
Like,
person.
would have seen some amazing things when he was
Yeah,
VP.
absolutely.
Like, just to think about the things that the VPs see in the White House, and just to have someone like that. And he's not just a quiet, like, past VP. He's obviously been very vocal about his work.
He leveraged
with-
his
the brand.
power and
Yep.
brand after there to create a very successful career after.
Totally. And like regardless of his politics, like just seeing someone like that was amazing, and having a bit of time from him was unreal.
Yeah.
I feel like he's more well known now for his life after politics than him being
big climate
vice
change
president.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What were you doing in New York? Because you said you went over there straight after school.
Yeah.
What got you there?
So as soon as I finished high school, I was like, you know what? I want to go to the US. And I was 17, and like,
Your parents were fine with it?
yeah, they were totally cool. Like I was making my own money then. I had a self-sustainable business. They were like, just do whatever
So
you
you
want.
were able to, from your business, put yourself up on a flight and put yourself up in a apartment or whatever it was for a year. And
In Manhattan.
Yeah, I had a
How much
a nice
money were you
apartment.
making when you were 17?
Oh, like $40,000. So I was spending $50,000. So it
Yeah,
was something
okay.
tiny, but and like at the time it was wonderful because I was 17 years old,
Yeah.
my first year out of school, whilst everyone else was in uni and
Yeah.
working casual jobs. I was working for myself, doing something I love. No, I wasn't paying myself like a CEO, but I was doing something I love, and I still do something I love. And I sort of thought, like, my rent is exactly how much I'm getting paid. But when am I ever going to be able to just move my life to New York?
So cool.
And, didn't end up lasting a full year because of the number of engagements I had back in Australia. But it was an amazing
Yep.
time. Like I made no money in New York. My whole work was back in Australia. But like just being in the center, I
It's
met
one of the
again. I met
coolest
some
cities in the
cool
world.
people.
Yeah.
Met some amazing people. There was one day I was walking to get a late lunch, and I was walking around a film studio, and Tony Robbins walked out, and I was a big Tony
That's
Robbins
so
person,
cool.
and just like that was a 2-minute conversation, but like.
How'd
That would
that
just
happen? You
never
just
happen in
bump into
Brisbane.
him?
That would just never happen in Brisbane.
a
right?
big
Had happened,
dude.
or you're like, holy shit, it's Tony Robbins. Hi.
It's either Tony
Yeah.
Roberts
Yeah.
or
Like he
the
was
Empire
coming out
State
of a
Building.
studio, like just like 2 streets away from my apartment, and like things like that would never happen here. So
no.
Unless it's
while-
Chris Hemsworth or something.
Yeah, even
yeah, like
they hide away in the
we
hills.
wanted to do like a Al Gore and Thor thing actually for that challenge. He didn't cooperate, but
He didn't cooperate.
he didn't cooperate. He didn't reply, but even when Al Gore was going to be there, but no, like just things like that. Like I was working, like just the environment of New York was an amazing thing to do straight out of school, meeting some awesome people, like just the people through our work. We did some engagement work with Google, and they set up some amazing opportunities for me in New York,
Yeah.
meeting the co-founder of Google, Google Apps, Google Drive, etc.
Wow.
and,
You would have been frothing on that.
I was
so
like the person who made Google Apps, like that was bloody awesome. Like the guy who made Cloud Gmail like a reality, and like just things like that were I just could have never done on like a 7-day trip.
No.
They just happened because
This is what business allows you to do.
happens. Yeah.
I've never been to some of the places or met the people.
Well, it buys presence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're allowed to, you know, like you said, you went and moved yourself at 17 to New York. Like you bought yourself time and presence so that you could go do the things that you wanted and be present and live these
Same
experiences.
president or present?
Presence.
Okay.
Presence. 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 Like here, we're present.
No, sorry.
Yeah. You take Pam.
I said president. I was like, what?
You bought the president?
Yeah, that like TJ said, it's just like one of the things I love about my job, because as hard and stressful it is like I've got a few grey hairs in my beard.
Few.
Since last time you saw me, bro. And it is stress, but
hard.
I love. It's hard. Like I've literally slept 2 hours in the last 48 hours, which again I keep saying I'm not going to do, but just sometimes you're going to do what you need
Told
to
me
do.
it wasn't cool.
It's not cool.
It's not cool.
It's not cool at all. I don't. I used to brag about it. Now I don't. It's like we're getting
Away from
somewhere that I've been working 9.5 years for, and I'm
Yeah.
at the end. So this is where you dig deep and you fucking sprint, like I used to do in running.
Yeah.
But like when you got to travel, had you done much traveling before you moved? Was that the first time out of the country?
Like mum and dad took us on good holidays. They worked hard.
Yeah.
But from a work point of view, like I was in school.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't do as much work travel as I wanted.
Yep.
Like, and like I was on LinkedIn because I didn't have that time, so I'd be asking people for video calls before connecting on video call was cool. And New York was just that opportunity for me to like
expand
that network. Like there was one day I was working at the Starbucks at Trump Tower in New York, and Steve Bannon was literally grabbing a coffee or whatever he was drinking from the Starbucks at Trump Tower, which like, how do you, like, again, regardless of your politics, having someone who was the senior advisor to President Trump at the time, and he was the newly elected president at the time, he was just inaugurated in January 2017. I was there in February, and just to have someone who was that close to the president was like, and again, didn't keep in touch with them, said hey, took a picture, said good luck for the term. But these are all people that I'd seen on Twitter, seen on Facebook, that I was actually able to see, and that would just never happen in where we live. I love Brisbane, but it would just never happen, and I know I could never do that again.
So awesome.
Because I moved to America when I was 18.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did college in the US. I was over there on a full ride for a track. But that was because I'd never left the country. And then I moved there, and I remember my dad came over with me and chaperoned me, and then I watched him drive off in the sunset before jumping on a plane. And I was like, not full cry, but like teared up because I was like, holy fuck, I'm actually by myself. Like, I can't just call mum and dad and they can solve anything. Like, I got my big boy pants on now. So it was a very, very fast learning curve. But I had pretty bad culture shock.
Yeah, right.
I was in Atlanta in Georgia.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And did you experience anything like that? Because when I go to New York, it's like, it's mind-blowing how big it is. It's like Paris. You're just like, fucking hell, how many people are in this place? And the people themselves, it's just next level.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, no one seemed to be from New York. Like, there was only a handful of people that I actually met that was genuine.
They're all in
from
the boroughs,
New
that's
York.
why.
But everyone in where I lived, everywhere in Manhattan was from somewhere else. So, like, in that sense, it was just like everyone was from somewhere else. We were just here for a couple of months, couple of years, etc. So it was great. Like, I just loved the experience, and I wish I was able to do longer. My life in Australia that was the year I was the Queensland Young Australian of the Year.
That's what we're going to get into next.
It was a tough year for me to go, but I
squeezed
really
it in.
wanted to go. I said I had a lease, so like it'd be silly for me not to have gone. But it just got to the point where there was one in particular where I had an event in Brisbane, and then there was another event, a last-minute event that they paid an amount which sort of required me to go from a work point of view. And I travelled twice in a week, and it's not a short flight. And I just realised that
East Coast.
this is the year I need to be in Australia. We're building something special. I had my time in the US. I will go back, but work is in Australia.
You are so responsible, bro.
Yeah, like I wish I
responsible.
wasn't, because now I know I could never do that. We've got 2 cats. They last till 20. Didn't realize that when we got them. So for the next, until I'm 44 years old, I know that we're not going to do that again. Then when we hit 44,
yeah, you can,
if there's kids,
you absolutely can. You put them on a plane and you get over there. Put them on
a plane. They don't like living in an apartment. They like their space.
What kind of cats do you have?
Just get a
20 years.
Get a
Tabby's last 20 years.
Get a townhouse, my friend, and it'll have 3 stories to run around with, and it won't complain. And if it runs outside, it'll realize how fucking cold it is, and then come back in.
Stay in. Look, one day I look forward to being able to afford a townhouse in New York, but
you will.
I'm just glad I was able to do that time then.
For sure.
It's just, it would be very hard to do that again now.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that I always think about before making a decision. I'm like, if I do not do this, and I am sitting on my deathbed, am I going to regret it? And then I make that decision. And it's generally always, I fucking do it.
Yeah.
There's only one thing that I regret in my life, and that was missing one of my best mates' weddings. And that's literally the only thing. Yeah. Everything else, all the mistakes I've made, it's just like, hey.
I'm so glad.
Amazing.
Social media.
Yes. Thank you. Your memory is good tonight, and mine is bad from no sleep.
Go you.
Thank you.
We're sharing the notes in between. you blew up across
Everything.
during that TV scene, and you're already on LinkedIn and all that. How do you go with social media, and like, have you used it to your advantage in business and your personal brand as well as the company?
Yeah, like LinkedIn in particular. Like we met our first investor on LinkedIn. We met multiple employees, partners. LinkedIn is like, it's free. What an opportunity, especially for young people. Like, even if you've got nothing to talk about, put your grade 12 certificates or participation ribbons on. Like, you've got something you can talk about. Like, even if it's just asking people for coffee. And that's what I did during my school holidays. I'd literally just, during the term, I'd message people to ask them if they'd be interested for coffee. And then during school holidays, I'd meet them. And like, for anyone, any young person, like, it's such an easy thing for them to do.
And you're going to get the
that
response
network
as well
from high
because
school.
you're like a kid. They're like, who the hell is this? Instead of, would you like to grow your audience by 40,000%?
Yeah.
Like,
Whereas a young person cold messaging is kind of like, oh, that's cute. Whereas like a 30-year-old cold messaging someone is just weird.
Like an old person.
So, like within reason, like if you customize it and individualize it,
correct.
you're fine.
But
But
spam bots, stop doing that, guys. It doesn't work.
I agree.
I block you when I spam. I report you for spam.
I don't want to join your Forex team.
And now they just fill it with crypto, right? Like
Yeah.
the Forex people have laid off a little. It's now just the real
Crypto.com.
intense crypto people who just want to sell shit. But like,
is that something you're
easy.
teaching now?
Like not actively, but we with
in
our
your
kids,
courses,
we
yeah.
absolutely like we tell them like like who cares about the age limit? Just be
There is
safe.
no age limit, by the way.
Is there? Okay.
No,
like,
no. Oh,
yeah,
is there actually on the platform?
I have no idea.
I just thought
like,
you meant as
yeah.
in don't care about how young you are.
Oh no, I agree with
Yeah.
that. But from a platform age limit, like just
Okay.
like just get on.
The worst thing that can happen is you get a no.
You know,
And one more no leads you to a yes.
and most people won't say no when you're that age.
Mm.
Like
Correct.
Luke, like most people that I never thought I'd get a reply from, like were like, yeah, let's catch up.
Yeah.
Like they're
'Cause if
happy
you
to do that.
Get
If
a
you
message from a 12-year-old. You're like, this dude is a fucking legend.
And I'll
Of
just catch up with
course,
him.
of
Yeah, yeah.
course, I'm going to see this person.
They also have that sort of like sentimental internal feeling of giving back as well. That they're saying, oh, I've got this knowledge that this kid needs.
Well, take someone
I wanna
special
spread
to actually reach out because, again, no one takes action.
Mm.
And they'll go sit in front of TV or swipe on TikTok for 5 hours.
And as you said, like most people want to help. Like
Yeah.
it's human nature to want to help. There's a very small subset portion of the population that perhaps doesn't want to help, but most people genuinely wake up in the morning wanting to help someone.
Mm-hmm.
And if a 12-year-old or even a 19-year-old was to reach out, hey, g'day, my name is X. I'm passionate about X. I'd love to catch up to learn more about your story. Most people will say yes. And I, like, it's such a basic thing. And I look at some of my peers who I went to school with. A lot of them aren't even on LinkedIn, and the ones that are don't use it properly. Like, this is a resource for you to meet some bloody awesome people that just are in a totally different league than you. And as I said earlier, like, you meet some amazing people. Some of that amazingness does rub off on you as well. And you can only meet those people by asking. And as you said, the worst thing is a no. Like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
no.
Bye.
2
Next.
letters. Yeah.
What about the other social medias like IG and all that? Because I feel like you are just such a productive person that's your social media is LinkedIn. It's like, it's so funny.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's through a deliberate purpose of either networking and connecting or learning. What about all the other social media platforms? Because when you're talking about kids at school, they're all on those. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook's kind of gone to the old crowd now.
Yeah, it is. It's for old people, they say.
It is the old people. And TikTok's even aging up hard
And
as
even
well.
just look at, like everyone says Facebook's for old people, but just look at how many times you post on Facebook now versus, say, 5 years ago. You don't.
Messenger
Messenger, but that's a very easy thing for someone to come and do better. Like, no one uses
I can't remember the last
newsfeed.
time I posted a Facebook status, actually. Now
Exactly.
Mine's
But
just...
think about maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, I would have posted all the time. Like for an inbox.
I was
hey, you
Like
up.
for a like. Except,
Yeah.
like seriously,
Like for a
everyone
rate.
used it.
I was at
Yeah.
college when it started. Like,
Yeah, right. Okay.
I literally was there
Yeah.
when it came to our campus and used to poke people, and
Oh my
it was
goodness.
literally organising the
This is
entire
nostalgic.
parties and would have parties on it. That was like it was the social
Yeah.
network. I didn't realize that I was in that era of Facebook's growth until I watched the movie. I was like, holy fuck. Like, because we got referred, because the colleges would refer each other. And we were with Georgia Tech. And we're like, it just blew my mind that I was there when that happened. So, but yeah, did you...
Right at the pinnacle.
Did you, at the very, just before it took off, but did you leverage any other platforms as well for your personal brand to inspire, like, the mainstream?
Yeah, like I keep in touch with our kids on Instagram because that's the thing they use.
Yeah.
So, like, I keep in touch with the kids on Instagram, and that's a nice before bed, have a nice scroll. But
you don't invest time into, like, creating content on those things as well?
Like, no.
It doesn't benefit you in any way,
like,
does
I post some pictures, like, when we're on holiday or we've done a cool workshop, cats. Or, like, our kids have done something cool. Like, we had one of our alumni participants or new participants start a hairdressing business, a mobile hairdressing business.
Wow.
And she came over on Sunday, so I post that, and hopefully she gets some business. But no, don't do a lot of content creation. Like, a lot of our work now, like, we do a lot with government. So no one necessarily needs to pay us for our services. It's fully funded. We just deliver some really awesome programs to people, which really doesn't need us to develop a huge profile. We've got customers, they come to us, someone else pays for it. It's just a very, I don't want to say it's hard, but it's easier than perhaps trying to build a pipeline of people to buy our product or buy our service.
It wasn't more leading that way. It was more like because of your beliefs and your passion and passing on that message. That's what I felt like.
Oh, my partner said I was too political, and so I was told to get off get off Twitter in particular. I had a problem with Twitter.
I liked a lot of your tweets, my friend.
Do you interact with political posts that you see on Twitter and whatnot?
Oh, very much so. Like I got into a lot of trouble. There was actually one intervention. I walked into work one morning, and I had 2 staff members pin me down and say what you posted was inappropriate. And like, I'm glad we've got such a very open relationship at work.
Yeah,
but it got to the point where we had staff members who were like, "Hey, we don't have an issue personally what you say, but when people start
talking about it,
or media people start talking about your views, we feel a little uncomfortable about, because our work
associated with you,
and I was sort of told just to quieten it, which is fine.
That's cool that you have a relationship like that too, because a lot of people talking to their boss wouldn't really bring that up with them.
Yeah, it was quite random. I didn't think that
my team do.
And I think that's a great, like, you don't just want people who, like, just
you
good
don't
morning,
want yes
boss.
men.
Like, you don't want yes men, and you don't want people, this formal environment where no one says anything. Like, I'd much rather them say it and they'll stay here forever rather than not saying anything and leaving in a year because they don't like what I'm saying. So
I want them to say no, so we can actually have a debate.
So you can change,
not an argument, a debate, respectful debate, and then give each other things. And
at the end of the day, you hug, make up, and you start again the next day.
And this is why I actually, one of the reasons why I started the podcast, to build my personal brand as well, because I am separate to the Bearded Chap, even though I am aligned with it, and I am who I am at work and in the real world and on social media. Whatever I put out there is my opinions. Not everyone's going to fucking love me, and there are people who totally agree with me. But one thing that we do with the Bearded Chap, none of my opinions or whatever I say has anything to do with the Bearded Chap, because we keep
that's what I say,
everything political out of it. Like we don't do Rainbow Day. It's not because we don't support that. My brother-in-law's brother came out from a very hardcore Catholic Texan family. Like, they still didn't even believe he was gay, and he's getting married this year. So and he was the first person when I went to his Bucks party, because I'd met him once. Actually, no, I'd never met him. It was the first time I met him, and he's like, I'm gay, right? I said, yeah, I don't care. You're my brother now. I love you. And he literally cried.
On the exact same boat.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gay, you do you. Correct. I will support you. I'll go to whatever. But
my business has nothing to fucking do with it. We make awesome grooming products to make men look and feel good, so you can go out and do whatever you want to do.
Regardless of
who you are.
Don't care that's exactly who you are, what race you are, whatever you believe in. If our products make you feel good, fucking use them. If you don't use them. And if you don't like what I have to say, that is absolutely fine, because there's other people who do. And I've made it very clear, and I'm actually this has been a real good voice because when we send it to our customers, they can actually understand it's not all this like some keyboard warrior hacking in, because as a business, we fuck keyboard warriors up.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Whoa. So you engage?
We engage. We
Whoa.
troll. If you troll us, and same with me personally,
Yeah,
I'm the wrong person to troll.
Yeah.
Because it's not how just not going to cop it.
Yeah.
I'll literally call them up. I'll find their number somehow. I'll call them up. I'm like, hey, bro, I talked to you. He's like, what? Like, it's wild. But then our customers will jump on, and I don't need to do anything. Like during
during
COVID, we pivoted and we were the only people to be able to do hand sanitizer in Australia for almost 2 weeks, or one of the very few, and the only one in Queensland. We supplied Queensland Health. We got people just jumping on, going, "You guys are price gouging." I'm like, we literally are
supply and demand, mate.
but we weren't, because I didn't want to do that to my customers, because we literally have 20,000 customers in Australia that we serviced. The government rang us up and went, "We need to commandeer all your stuff." I said, "Yeah, no." Like, because I'm literally...
it's just at $20 a bottle.
We were selling at $21 a bottle.
Oh.
Yeah. And literally they went, "We need everything." And I said, "Sorry, our customers are number one. They've supported us from day dot, and so they're getting their stuff. How much do you need? Because we've pre-sold everything, and like before we can even make it. How much do you need? Sweet. Well, that will be 3 weeks away. Pay now." And that was it. Like, and
Do they pay you now?
when it was ready.
Yep.
Yeah, they were really good. It was
They did buy.
Yeah.
Right.
They almost fucked us.
Oh.
We got 60 grand less than what was originally agreed with. They tried to screw us at the last minute. But everyone I worked with in this government, it was very cool to have people come together. But I had some pretty full-on conversations, like with 2 ICs of the Premier going, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, do you?" Like, and I just played on it because I wanted people to take action. Because there was a big safety net around everyone, and they didn't want to make a decision because they didn't want to be accountable and responsible or anything. So I just went, "Do you want to be the one responsible for letting all these people die?" And like just guilt tripping them into it, because I just wanted them to take action. And guess what? They all ended up coming around.
Yeah, right.
And they were awesome. And we executed, and we got, because my partner's a doctor, and we got stuff to hospitals to protect all the doctors who were actually,
Sarah.
and just like, but it was really good to see a breaking of the political views for once, and just people being people, and actually, okay, let's just solve this.
Cool. Nice.
So it was a pretty interesting time. Back to you. Do you do much reading?
Yeah, I read a lot. In the form of like holding a book before bed. No. But when I'll read a couple of chapters in the middle of the day if I feel like, hey, that's an area that I'd like to learn about. Never storybooks. I really can't stand storybooks. But if there's a book that someone's recommended, I won't add it to a list. I'll just read a couple of chapters then and there and add it to a reminders list. And when I'm ready to read the rest, and I'm reading like 100 different things, and it sits in one column of my reminders board of where I'm up to, and that way I know a bit about everything. And when it interests me and piques my interest, I'll read another chapter. If it doesn't, I'll stop. And it's probably not the best way of reading because you never finish anything in succession. But I love it. Like I feel like it's great. I love it.
Is there any particular book that you've read or chapter of a book that has made a huge impact and changed the course of what you're doing?
So the Psychology of Money, I've read that a couple of times, and it still sits as one of my, even though I've read it, it sits on my reminders board, was I find it quite interesting.
What's it about?
Money. It's very US.
The psychology of money.
It's very US centric, and it just, especially for our work where we're teaching kids about life skills, it sort of helps us make a case for why life skills education is so important. There's some incredible, it is a bloody awesome book into how just the average American thinks about savings as there was, don't quote me on the percentage, but there was most Americans don't have, I think, $5,000 of emergency savings. And when you dived into that subset group of people that didn't have $5,000 of or $500 of emergency savings, so something that most people should have, they would much rather take a bet on buying lotto tickets every week than going and actually doing something a bit more meaningful. And for them, the idea of going out and being successful, setting a vision, etc., is just so out of reach that buying a lotto ticket and being the 1 in a billion that actually wins a lotto is closer in reach than becoming successful, rising in their roles, etc. And it sort of like that's something that I feel very like I could never empathize with that. I could never relate with that. Yet a lot of our kids do come from very similar backgrounds. So for me, it explained it in a way that I, as someone who could never relate to that, could genuinely understand. And it was, it's like, and I guess that I had two parents that worked and taught me about the importance of hard work. So to empathize with perhaps another audience who is from an alternate background, it's a great book.
Cool.
So, no, it's a good one.
Are there any habits that you do? So like I know that I do a lot of visualization on stuff, on my goals and everything. Do you do those types of things?
Yeah, vision boards. So my desktop background is the vision board for that 3-monthly period. I live by vision boards, love it. Like initially, my school visualization board was all the materialistic things. And yes, I love having a new phone. I love having a new watch. I love my new tech. I love having all of the materialistic things. But seeing that sort of progress over the last couple of years has been interesting. I love the idea of vision boards, seeing what I want to achieve over that set period, and being very clear about it.
Do you do visualization as well, like shutting your eyes and like imagining yourself to that level?
Sometimes, on specific areas that perhaps I need to work through. So vision boards is a big one. Second one is just the idea that I think business owners, like, it's a tough sport. It's a really tough sport, and
competitive.
It's competitive. It's tough. And sure, you might have some great, like, I've got a great operations manager, but you can't talk to certain things. There's things you can't necessarily share with those people. And I see a psychologist. I think every single person should see one. Certainly every business owner should see one, because there's things you can talk about and work through with someone who's trained and specializes in helping you work through things. So perhaps not a habit, but getting into some form of rhythm of seeing someone, whether it be a psychologist, counselor, coach, whatever you want to call them. I see a psychologist because I believe in science, and I believe there's a way and things that they've been taught that allow me to learn. I'm not just learning from some random life coach that is completely unqualified to teach me anything. I'm learning from someone who has spent a number of years learning things, and I truly believe she can teach me something. And perhaps not a habit as such or procedure, but it's something
that's a tool that you're leveraging.
I need it.
My ultimate goal is to have an in-house. I think of myself and my team as a sports team. What do a sports team have? Sports psychologists. Totally. I want it like billions. I want an in-house psychologist, performance psychologist, because when I know I'm not performing, I can go in there, deal with my shit, and get myself into a state where I can at peak performance and go execute. Same with my team. If they're like shit goes on outside of work that you don't know of, and you have other stuff that goes inside of your head that you don't know of, and allowing or having that tool in my workplace, I think would just be incredible.
Oh, it is. Like, I wish we could do the exact same thing. I suggest a lot of our staff to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Privately with their own person that makes them feel comfortable. If it's a male, woman, intersex, whatever. Do what you feel is comfortable, age-wise, whatever. Because it isn't, like, it's massive. Like, there's this huge stigma of seeing a psychologist, but it's so damn normal. Like, it should be normal, because if you're a business owner and you are internalizing a lot of things, that's genuinely, like, terrible. That's not a healthy thing for you personally, and it's certainly probably not good for your staff. And that's my monthly or 2 monthly sessions where I can just share everything and get some very qualified feedback or responses, and and or suggestions on what I need to do to step up.
Yeah. And they don't help you solve your problem. They help you
come to a solution.
Well, no, they help you think about different perspectives. They just give you tools in order for you to process and come to your own closure or decision on those things, and then move forward.
And
that's
like
what
the
I
number of
find.
strategies I picked up from this lady, like incredible. Like it's you don't just need one of these people for when you're in a
rut or depressed or anything,
or depressed or whatever. Like anyone, regardless of what state you're in, if you can afford one, you should get one.
Yeah.
Like
again, that's why the best athetes in the world have sports psychologists, and they are in peak performance.
And
they're
look
at
at the
the
top
highest
CEOs.
level. Yeah, the top CEOs.
They all have
do it.
them. Why aren't small business CEOs, medium-sized business CEOs having them? And I think many people do have them. They just don't talk about them. And
I
sooner,
agree.
Perhaps that becomes just normal that everyone sees. And hopefully we need more psychologists because
We do.
there's just not enough.
Listen to
There's not
stigma,
enough
yeah.
at the moment because I know there's backweight. Like I've recommended them to some of my peers, and I'm like, they've gone, bro, I can't see someone for like a year.
It's crazy. It's genuinely a massive wait list. So we need more of them.
Schools start teaching psychology.
And universities. We need to be
universities.
spinning out
Yeah.
way more of these people.
Yeah.
But it just needs to become normal because if I believe I would have been a far better employer, I would have been a far better CEO, and we would be far further along the track if I had seen someone many years ago rather than the last 2 years, 3 years.
Same for me. It's wild. Shit, I just had an awesome question and I forgot to ask you. Okay.
Must not have been that awesome.
No,
man.
it was
Yeah.
actually awesome. That's right. Tell us about you being like you've won 2 massive awards. How do you even get chosen for that?
So the first one, I'm not sure if it was that big. It just sounds pretty cool because it was done
Okay.
by the Australian newspaper.
All right.
Well,
Well, the Australian of the Year for Queensland though.
that one was cool.
That's a big one. Like, how do you get chosen for that? Because for a normal person, it's just, hey, that's an amazing person. Like, what is that process involved? And
Yeah, I was very lucky with that one. Look, so someone nominates you, and then you just get told, "Hey, you've become a semi-finalist, and then a finalist, and then you win it." So it was pretty cool.
Well, then you win it. The other people didn't.
Yeah, like
The other finalists did.
so it was a cool process. Like, so the couple of people nominated me. They never tell you who, and they never tell you why.
Yeah.
But it was to do with the work we were doing, teaching kids about digital literacy and STEM in schools. And we were doing a lot of work then with teaching Indigenous kids about STEM education and digital literacy so that they'd be a bit more employable when they finish school. It was a cool process. Like the awards night, as I said earlier, was day 3 of schoolies. So I just finished grade 12. We had the Val party and then schoolies for a couple of nights. And I rocked up. I left the schoolies wristband on because it was kind of like win it, great. If not, I'm going straight back to schoolies. And mum convinced me to come back. I was like, nah, I don't need to go. Like,
I'm not going to
I was the youngest. I was the youngest by far. And it was sort of like,
you are the youngest.
I'm only going to be at schoolies once.
79.
Yeah. And I was only going to be at schoolies once. So it was, I was going to New York a few weeks later. This is the last time I'm going to see all of my mates. Do I really need to come back? And she was like, do whatever you want, but if you come, we'll bring your suit, we'll iron everything. You just take the train back and meet us in the city, and we'll iron everything for you, so you don't need to come home, and you can go straight back to schoolies on the next train. And the premier announced it, which was pretty cool. It was a cool process. They, as part of the Australian of the Year process, they flew us to Canberra, where we met the Governor General, had tea with the Prime Minister.
That was the tea with the Prime Minister.
Interesting guy, tough character. I had high hopes for Malcolm Turnbull, and
So did I.
Like, I admire what he's done in business.
Oh, yeah.
Like, incredible career in business, and between him and Lucy, a power couple. Lucy Turnbull's background is truly underrated. They were
I read his book.
Did you really?
Yep.
Okay.
It's worth the read.
Yeah, right.
It explains a lot, but
Tough character.
I think he was just on the wrong team, and you got smoked because of that.
He was a tough character. I
Yeah.
struggled with him. He didn't engage at all in the conversation.
okay.
And
Was he
found him
just
extremely-
not there, or
So he had his first phone call with the incoming president that morning,
Oh,
and that's when
that was the wild one?
that was the wild conversation where Trump said, "We're not taking your refugees,"
yeah.
etc. So I assume he was preoccupied. He had better things to do, and he showed it. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
didn't say anything. He was looking everywhere, found every other reason not to engage in conversation. His wife was doing all the talking during this meeting.
I think he just
so-
him getting smoked by Trump that morning probably wouldn't have helped.
Yeah, it was a terrible timing, but he could have faked it for a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
I was very
Prime
excited
Minister.
to see the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
It was the first Prime Minister I'd ever seen. I was invited to the lodge. Like, it was cool. I was too nervous to even hold a coffee cup. We were there for tea.
Really?
And I was talking to him about his work and just no response. And I'd look at him, wasn't like he was listening. And then Lucy realized that he wasn't listening, so Lucy would
Step
start
in.
talking. And like, she was lovely, incredible.
Yeah.
And obviously a prime minister has far better things to be doing than talking to a 17-year-old. But
Well, he is elected by the people.
yes,
So.
yeah.
For the people.
But no, it was a cool process. Like, I met some cool people through that process too.
Easy.
That's how we started engaging government. That award allowed me to just springboard a lot of the work we do right now. We got friendly with a lot of the various ministers and MPs in the various parties, and it was just a cool opportunity.
Since your first programs that you ran way back when you're at school, have you stayed in contact with any people from like those very first ones with what's the number? Oh my God, I'm getting tired now.
56.
56.
Yeah.
With 56, like, and seeing them come through and make successes of themselves.
Yeah. Like, countless kids. Like, we've used them as speakers for our future events. We've hired a couple of them as facilitators, which there's no better person to teach our future kids than the ones that have gone through our program. So, like some have started like working in some cool jobs. Others have started and grown their businesses, subsequent businesses. So that's through ASE, and then with the digital literacy kids, some have just got some really awesome jobs.
That's awesome.
That's what we're there to do: upskill, teach them cool skills, and hopefully they're a bit more set up for their future career. And it was cool. Like, we've got some really good evaluation mechanisms in place to make sure that we're not just delivering shitty programs, but it actually works. And on the most recent one, our ASE alumni have now generated, as of last week, just over $1 million Aussie in income or revenue collectively.
Wow.
Which is pretty awesome. So it's not just
That's awesome.
they're not just pitching ideas and then they do nothing. They're actually starting cool businesses. So yeah.
Well done.
Incredible.
It's cool stuff.
What's next? You've done so much in such a short time. What's in the pipeline next 10, 20 years for you?
I thought politics was going to be in there and decided that no, that's not for me. Like,
Wow.
I'm an introvert by
Mm.
I always thought I loved, and I still like people, but I need my me time. And I have a feeling that in Australia you can't particularly get a huge amount done anyway. Mixed, and it's just going to be a couple of years where you'll look back and be like, I'd probably prefer being in the private sector.
Yeah.
So that was always the thought, hey, maybe once I've done something, we'll explore contributing in a policy level where you can actually create sustainable change, not just through private enterprise, but actually doing something a bit more long-term, locking in real change.
Helping holistically,
in the country. But perhaps I realize that maybe we can't get that much done here in Australia anyway. And what you do in 3 years can be very easily replaced by the subsequent government in 3 years' time, 3 years later. So that's now gone. Our goal is 1 million people by 2030. We've recently opened up our Australian School of Employment. We received a pretty significant 7-figure tender from the Australian government to deliver self-employment services in the employment service industry.
Amazing.
Over the next 5 years. So the goal is 1 million people by 2030 having gone through the program. We've got a big vision.
It's awesome.
We've got a big target, but we've actually got to execute on that now.
Yeah.
We've got to work
Through the tender, yeah.
we've got to deliver good programs our programs are very high energy. It's not just a traditional classroom. It's 1:8, the ratio in our programs. The facilitators are so damn energetic. There's a vibe in the room, and when kids walk in, we need to keep that. So as we scale, it's not just, we don't just become like everyone else. We scale sustainably and we do it well. So I think I've got a couple of years left with ASE. I'll take it to a stage where we're well and truly on the path to $1 million. I've realized that I don't think I'm a very good CEO. I love starting a business. I love I love the first few years, growing it from 0 to a couple of million. But taking it from a couple of million to $100 million business is probably not where my skill set lies. And my job and my vision over the next couple of years is to find someone who is as excited as I am, but has the skills to turn a couple of million into a few $100 million or get the $100 million. And I just know that's not me. And not just like, we obviously want to make a lot of money. We want to be sustainable, but we're a business for good. We want to make sure that the programs
forever
are like, it's sustainable. The kids are deriving a huge amount from these programs. The adults that are going through are starting some awesome businesses. They're going into employment and getting paid reasonably well. We're a business for good. So making a huge amount of money whilst making a huge amount of good in the community as well. And we think we can do it hand in hand, not as a charity, but as
profitably
just
and sustainable,
a good business.
Yeah. Well, you essentially have to, if you're going to be teaching it. That's what I would say.
Yes.
Like you walk the talk, walk the walk. So, mate, I think that's a good time to wrap it up.
Nice.
Thank you so much for coming on board.
That was awesome.
For everyone who wants to check out ASE and all the groups, how can they find you?
Social media.
Yeah.
So I am on Instagram, just my full name, Taj Pabari. ase.edu.au. So nice and easy.
Or LinkedIn.
Very active on LinkedIn.
Very active LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Gold member.
Bro, you're an absolute inspiration and
incredible
like
human.
You're a badass motherfucker and very privileged to have you on here, and I cannot wait to see what you do over the next 20 years.
Thanks for having me, guys. Cheers.
Anytime, my friend.
Thanks, Taj.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
Nice.
Cool.